Strong looks different for each of us, and it's time to put focus on our unique journeys that get us there. This space, created weekly, is for athletes to improve their mindset in order to better navigate challenges that come up in sport and in different seasons of life. On this show, we ask the questions that lead to better answers and have the conversations that truly matter. This is the Becoming Your Strong podcast. Hey, you guys. Welcome back to the Becoming Your Strong podcast. Super stoked to have you here as I am just buzzing. I am so proud of the fact that I completed and conquered a 12-mile ruck race this past weekend, knowing that I'm on the climb to a 17.5-mile ruck race in September. And so I wanted to get on the pod today and just talk about the experience and ultimately what were some of those things that helped me conquer it that I think is very applicable to a lot of you that are listening. So it'll be a good chat today. But first, before we do that, let's go ahead and do our Becoming Your Strong moment of the week. I more or less wanted to give a shout out to these two individuals that run this company. And this company has created such incredible experiences for me. So Dan and Anna from the Wild Gym Ruck. I just am so grateful that both Dave and I, just all of our paths had crossed. You guys are just so freaking awesome. And the experience that you give to people of all fitness levels, whether they are, going from the couch to their first, major hike or 5K, to the people like Dave and I that are on doing these crazy things with weight on our back. The experience that you provide to so many of us is fantastic by creating something that is so comfortable. And what I love about this is not just the amazing product itself and the adventures, the experiences, the memories that I have gotten because of a product that has treated me so well, but it's just who you guys both are as individuals. And you are just here to listen to the people and ultimately give them what they want. Like, you just came out with a brand new Feather Ruck and it is going crazy right now for good reason, because you literally asked for the feedback and you are giving people exactly what they're asking for. And I don't know, for any of you guys that have maybe started your own business or have gone on a business venture, it is terrifying and it is incredibly hard. And some of the risks that they've had to make, the decisions they've had to go through, like it's crazy and it's terrifying. But two local people to Colorado that just had a dream in their heart to bring fitness to so many different types of people that didn't involve going inside of a box gym, but allowed for you to get outside and to live life full out. Like, I'm so grateful for you guys and what you've given all of us and just who you are as individuals. So just wanted to give you guys that shout out, especially because you guys helped me have a great race this weekend. It was super cool knowing that, and just comforting knowing that I had something on my back for 12 miles that I trusted, and that I will get to continue to have that same thing on my back as I attempt this 17.5 mile Green Beret race here in September. So just big thank you, big shout out to you guys. Let's go ahead and talk about what happened this weekend. So for those of you that may or may not know, I think it's been since March or April, I have been competing in what's called the Ruck Race League. And it is a virtual race that is worldwide for ruckers all around, which is super stinking cool. And essentially we come together and we do a test every single month. Now you can complete this test as many times as you want, submit as many scores as you want, your top score will go, and you're competing against a bunch of these different people to get the best score. And what I've loved about this is the accountability that it's kept for me continuing to put on the ruck, because, when I'm trying to train DECA and all these other things, sometimes it's not the priority to throw it on, but to have a challenge every single month that holds me accountable to just getting in it a couple times a month. That I've absolutely loved about it. I've also loved some of the absolutely grueling challenges that have really caused me to go or forced me to go into some of these mental places. And this 12-mile ruck race that they had was called the Tradition. And it's essentially where you put on, I can't remember the exact percentage, but I had 35 pounds on my back. and you just go for 12 miles as fast as you can. And there was a 3-hour time cap. And while I completed 9 miles with 15% of my body weight on my back, I think it was right around like that 15, 20 pounds or so on my back. Or no, maybe it was 10%. Either way, it was a lot lighter than what I did this weekend. While I had that confidence, the proof that I could do it, for some reason, just the emphasis on the time cap really made me worry that like I didn't know if I was going to finish this. Because at least with the 17.5 race, like I get to do it in whatever way I wanted to do it. I wasn't having someone pressuring me to run the whole thing, to go as fast as I needed to go. Like the 17.5 is like literally get through it. This is like, if you want to finish it, you almost have to run the entire thing, if not be really darn close to it. And guys, I don't run that far. Like I don't train that much. The farthest my long runs really are anywhere from 5 to 6 miles. And that's because what I do doesn't require it. I'm not training for high rocks. I'm not training for the higher level DecaFit. Like I'm not trying to get an elite to where I need to run that many miles. I'm quite literally training for the mile, which is a mile of racing, technically less, and the strong, which has no running whatsoever. So while aerobic capacity is built very well in running, it's not where a lot of my time is spent. So my efficiency in it is not terrible, but it's not amazing. And so I've always had these doubts with these longer running races of like, could I actually do it? But I've also had these wants of like, I feel like I could run a half marathon. Like I really feel like that would be so good for me just to be with myself. Like there's no flashy, there's no like you stop and you go to the next machine and then you stop and you go to the next station, then you go over here. Like it's just you and your mind and whatever's in front of you. But again, it's just been that overall confidence of like, could I finish? And that's what I ultimately was facing this weekend. And so when I went into this, I saved it to the very last weekend of the month because I was not very thrilled in doing it, if I'm being quite honest. When I got to this weekend, I was very intentional about where my headspace was at and how I prepared for this mentally, physically, and emotionally. And so I just wanted to walk you through some of the things that I feel like made a big difference for me in the instance that like you struggle with this. Like there's something that you know you want to do, but it's really uncomfortable and you're really scared of it, but you know that you're going to do it. And so you're figuring out how to best attack it so that it's not like the like most terrifying, worst experience of your life. This might be the right tips for you. But I made it on the other side, guys. So like, hopefully this goes to show that it can be done and you can totally do it. So the first thing that I wanted to share is I had to get really good at balancing the mindset of letting go of outcomes, whether that be that I finished within the time cap or not, while also leaning into the challenge that this pressure of trying to finish it underneath the time cap was giving me. By doing this, by balancing those two, it ultimately gave me the space to do what was in my best interest, but also to question my mind when I wanted to stop to walk or even when I wanted to go faster. I kept asking myself, am I wanting to make these decisions to either walk or to go faster because I'm trying to feed an ego, because my mind is giving up quicker than my body is, because I'm slightly starting to feel uncomfortable? Like, what is the real reason here? And instead of just like making a snap decision right away, it was like really thinking through my thoughts on that run of like, there's no expectation here of me to finish under the time cap or not. The goal is definitely, I would like to finish 12 miles today, regardless of how long or how short of time that happens within. But I want to do it in a way that is going to align with me and also give me that little bit of push, because again, where growth is at is in that discomfort zone. And I know that more than anyone because I've lived a lot of my life there the last few years and it's only treated me so well. So it was this back and forth, but in a really healthy way, not in a like anxiety kind of pressure filled way. I ultimately wanted to push past the moments where it felt mentally hard And I also wanted to listen to my body when it was telling me that we needed to pivot. So it was not allowing for my mind to give up first. It was waiting for my body to be like, okay, we really need to listen here, and waiting for that sign before I started to make any decisions on what to do next. And ultimately that got me through 7 miles, a little over 7 miles of straight running with 35 pounds on my back, which is a big deal for me. And that moves on to the second thing that I feel like I did really well that also helped me. And that was assessing my perceived effort, my perceived exertion, essentially. Rate of perceived exertion. It's also called RPE. That's the acronym for rate of perceived exertion for anyone that's heard of it. But in the book that I have been reading as of recently called How Bad Do You Want It? Mind Over Muscle, it talks a lot about perceived effort and your feelings towards the perceived effort that will either be required and given during your adventure. The lower the perceived effort and the more favorable feelings that you have towards it tend to lead to a better performance. Now, even if the perceived effort is on the higher side, like, it's going to be tough, but you are like prepared and you still have favorable feelings towards how difficult it's going to be, you will still perform well. And so reading that and really digesting that over the last couple of weeks in my training, whether it be my long runs or even my more like intensity threshold sessions, like I went into this specifically knowing that the first few miles would be just fine. Like I was going to be totally fine. And then once I got, towards that mile 5, mile 6, that's when things were going to start to feel fatigued, where my mind is going to be like, okay, are we done with this? Oh my gosh, we still have a whole nother 6 miles to go. I wanted to brace myself for that impact, right? Is being able to say, okay, we know that this is going to happen. So when this happens, we're not in a shock. And I've always struggled in the past with doing things like that because, you always want to be positive and you always want to think that like the best things could happen and not count yourself early. But what this book has taught me is like, it's not that you're counting yourself out early. It's just you're being realistic and you're bracing yourself for what could happen so that when it happens, you're not at shock. Because there's been plenty of times where I'm hoping for the best and I don't think about it being hard and I just like wish that it wouldn't be hard, and then it gets really freaking hard. And then I'm sitting there playing even more mind games with myself of like, I'm not ready, I should quit, or I should slow down, or it's not my day. Versus when I've already braced myself for impact, it's like, okay, we're here. This is what we came for, but we can totally do this and we can totally make this on the other side. And so when it happened, again, I wasn't shocked. Right around that mile 6, I was like, okay, we're starting to feel it. Get to this point, right? Because your rate of perceived exertion is still fairly low. Your body's just starting to get a little tired, which makes sense. Get to this point. Like, I want you to feel like your rate of perceived exertion is getting up there before we start to switch gears from running to maybe more like intervals and shuffling and things like that. And that's exactly what I did. And just being on lock with that and feeling so confident and like, and in control of where I was at and not being shocked, like it just was super helpful for, especially when you're just going such a long distance. And that leads sort of to the next thing of more or less what was going on during not only the first 6 miles, but just part of the back half of my run as well, is I got really good at distracting my mind. Like, guys, our mind will give up way sooner, way faster than our body ever will. Our body does not get nearly as much credit. We feel one thing, like our heart rates start to go up or our muscles get a little bit tired or anything that's slightly uncomfortable, and our mind immediately thinks, this is it, we're done, we have to shut down, because it's just trying to protect us, when in all reality, it's almost like we're just getting warmed up and the body is just adapting to whatever it is that it was feeling. But all of that to say, I know this, right? And so I was like, okay, I don't want to cheat this by any means, but I also want to like kind of play the game that I know that's going to happen, which is going to be a mind game. So the first part of the run, the first 6 to 8 miles, I was listening to Sally McRae, who hosts the Choosing Your Strong podcast. And I love her. I love her and Eddie. And I got to listen to an episode of Eddie and their daughter, Mackenzie. And they're just so stinking funny. Like, I remember like laughing out loud at some of the things that they were saying. And I was smiling and there was good energy going. And it was just such a great way to distract my mind. And like, had I not listened to them, or maybe just like, listen to music or whatever, something that maybe didn't really connect or hit with me, I probably wouldn't have been as distracted. And who knows, maybe those first few miles would have actually been a lot harder had I not had that distraction. Now, I know that we can't always bring like the podcasts and the music and our earbuds out on races. Like there's just certain times that we just can't do that. But again, it does really go to prove that when your mind is just is distracted, it doesn't have time to think about anything else. So we can ultimately use that to our advantage. Now, what I did start to do is once the podcast thing started to teeter out and things started to feel a little bit harder, again, I got probably past 7 miles or so, is I started to count. I've always been really big into counting, and I picked this up when I started climbing 14ers like several years back, like 2019. And I would just like think about, oh my gosh, my legs are on fire. I can't really breathe. All I want to do is stop. But I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to start counting, and I'm just going to make it to 100. And if I don't feel good at 100, okay, then I will stop, take a deep breath, and then I will keep moving and go to the next 100. And I picked that up and I did that here. And so I started counting to 240 seconds because once I got past that 7 miles, I was like, okay, it's time to go into intervals, which is like, if I could go 30 seconds hard and then 30 seconds of walk and 30 seconds hard, like whatever it is that I needed to do, I was going to do it. So I counted to 240 to represent 4 minutes of running and 60 seconds for the fast walk that I was going to do. That was also going to allow for me to get in some more fueling, like sips of water, hydration, gels, etc. And that brings me ultimately to the next thing, was that I got really good at adjusting and adapting. So like I said, I was a little past 7 miles of straight running, and I noticed some signs like physically in my body that were like, okay, things are starting to twinge a little bit. Things are getting fatigued. We're starting to trip a little bit, starting to kick rocks a little bit more. Like, let's take a small break to regather ourselves and also make sure that we're on top of fueling, because if we're not, it's only going to show up on the back half of this, and that'll be not good. So let's just start these intervals. So again, I started counting, and having just that single number to focus on was so freaking glorious. And what I found, you guys, this was the amazing thing, is even after I did 4 minutes of running and 60 seconds of rest, like walking at a faster pace, the pace from mile to mile did not drop, really did not drop much at all. In fact, I was going just as about as fast per mile as I was when I wasn't doing the intervals and I was just shuffling along. So I wanted to share that because sometimes I feel like we get stubborn and we're like, no, like I have to keep going, when really we just need to get good at listening to what our body is telling us and not freaking out when we need to course correct, and instead just make the adjustments necessary to keep putting one foot in front of the other. Like, one thing that I found myself doing was, oh, my shoulders are really starting to hurt. I've had this thing on for over an hour and a half to 2 hours straight, and I haven't done that yet. And that's a lot. So I'm going to be super kind to myself, and I'm going to acknowledge it. I'm going to take a deep breath, honoring that I can adapt here and that it's not the end of the world. And I'm going to think about the best solution. And so I'd go back and forth between tightening the straps and loosening the straps, and tightening the straps and loosening the straps, depending on what it is that my shoulders needed. Because newsflash, you guys, it doesn't matter what ruck you're wearing, your traps are always going to be working, trying to carry weight. So you got to figure out in that moment, do you need to carry the weight more in your hips? Do you need to carry it more in the shoulders? Like what is really fatiguing here? And so I knew that I always had options, that I didn't need to freak out, that I had options. But I had options because I chose to listen, and I didn't freak out, and I allowed for myself to seek out those different options. So it's just a reminder that, like, when you race, you can always course correct. There's going to be times where you get to something and it doesn't feel good. And just like you would communicate with a partner of like, hey, I'm going to need some extra help here, you got to do that same communication with yourself, without judgment, without pressure, just thinking, okay, what do I really need? And I'll even tell you, I'll do a quick kind of side tangent here. I did that during the World Championship Deca Strong race. I had been, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I was already 3 races deep in by that point of going all out effort. And I woke up that morning of the Strong feeling like complete ass cheeks. I had just became the world champion in the Ruck Strong like 2 hours earlier. And then it was time for the elite strong race. And this is the race I had literally been training for and gunning for my entire year, for like 2 years, quite honestly. And so I was just so excited to be there. But when I got onto the ski, my God, you guys, I was like, my body feels so lifeless. Like I just don't have it today. And I didn't judge myself. I didn't pressure myself. I just was like, okay, I'm accepting it. I'm going to pull back a little bit here. I'm going to regather myself, and I'm just going to continue to put one foot in front of the other and just listen to what my body needs. And I did that, and I got to the bike last. And then guess what? I freaking came off the bike in 6th place. Out of 15 girls, I came off the bike in 6th place after getting on probably 30 seconds after, because my race is always won on the bike. And I get off and I like flipped a freaking switch mentally. It was the coolest thing, and is one of the my most favorite moment of racing ever, is just feeling so like I'm gonna freaking run through a wall. And all of that to say, you guys, it's because I listen to myself and I try not to feed an ego. And sometimes it's better than others, but truly it makes it so much better when you're able to not freak out when you need to course correct. The last thing that I will share that I feel like really helped me on the race this past weekend was realizing the bigger picture at play. I had other underdog fitness teammates out there competing in multiple challenging things this past weekend. And just to know in that given moment that there was someone else that was going through something maybe that was harder than me, or just was trying their absolute best, like all of the stuff was happening from afar, was just so freaking comforting. Realizing how rucking never used to be a thing for me, nonetheless running several miles with something on my freaking back, and that I've overcome so much with this ruck that's on my back. And I put in so many miles on it, and the progress that I've made, both physically and just as a human being with this thing, it's just been amazing. And I was so grateful to just be outdoors on such a beautiful day, looking at the Flatirons, being surrounded by happy people that are smiling and waving and just so happy to just be out there, and acknowledging that some years ago that I would be on a day just like that, on the couch, depressed, lethargic, unable to do any of this. And that to me just brought it back to the thing that mattered, which is that I'm living my life. And this is one of the many experiences that I am truly living, because it's not just about the ups. It's also about the sticky, messy, in the middle, messy middles, and the lows of where you feel like you just want to fall to the floor. That is living. And I am doing that right here. And what a freaking gift that is. And this is where I want to leave you with, is these endeavors are all about perspective. And arguably the person with the best perspective will be the one to take it all in the end. But even more than that, perspective guides us in how we experience our life. And with a productive one, we get the beautiful opportunity to actually live life full out. Thank you guys so much for listening in today. I appreciate you more than you know, and would love if you are able to leave a rating or review. Also, if you are like, hey, I really want to get into rucking and I don't know where to start, please start with the right pack. Go check out the show notes, because I will link in the exact rucking kit that I have from Wild Gym. You guys, I'm on my way here in a few days to DecaFit Austin, and I am sure there will be plenty of stories that come from that. So stay tuned for that. Have an awesome week, and I will chat with you guys then.